Let the assembly say, praise Yahweh. At this time, I simply want to ask that everybody rise as we open the incoming of our Shabbat in prayer. Abba Yahweh, on this most beautiful and pleasant seventh-day Shabbat, we want to thank you first and foremost for breathing your Ruach HaKodesh upon your people and for breathing the Ruach of life into each and every one of our vessels and allowing us the opportunity to call upon your name one more time, as well as to be alive in the land among the living to observe another Shabbat. Abba Yahweh, we ask that you please continually look down from the Hashemayim upon each and every one of us. Take into consideration the condition and the state that we are in, individually as well as collectively, Father Yahweh. All of our faults, our failures, and our shortcomings, we ask that you wipe those things away from us, Abba Yahweh, and replace them with a desire to want to stand upright before you and to strive to do your will and to keep your Torah more diligently with each and every passing day that you give us. And we ask of you also that in recognizing and considering our condition, we ask that you also look down from the heavens upon our adversaries, those who fight against us without a cause. And we ask that you let every evil work that they desire to have fall upon our heads, let it be null and void, Abba Yah. Thwart it. Don't let it come to fruition, but instead turn it back upon their own heads and the heads of their households and the heads of their children and the heads of their children's children for generations to come until you see fit to stave off their punishment or until they drop to their knees and repent before you. And we beg of you also, allow us to not be envious or desirous of the Gentiles' ways or the ways of the wicked, but instead allow our focus and our desires to be upon the things of your word. Allow us to not be caught up in seeking after the riches of the Gentiles, but more so, let us seek first your kingdom and its righteousness, so that the things that the world possesses will also be added unto us for seeking your obedience unto you. And we beg of you also, a special blessing upon your ministers, your messengers, your Nabaim, your Levites, wheresoever your people are scattered throughout the world, the men who strive to fight to declare your word. We ask that you be with them. As the devil tries to weigh them down and place the spirit of battle fatigue upon them, we ask that you strengthen them wheresoever it is that they may be weakened, right them wheresoever it is that they may be wrong, and replenish and renew their strength and give them the desire and the zeal to go forward in even greater power and to deliver your word so that your people might hear, take heed, as well as be saved. Abba Yahweh, these blessings we ask of you ever so humbly in the mighty, awesome, powerful, Kodesh name of your Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, we pray. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Dear family, you may be seated. It's with great honor and pleasure that I stand here before you all this evening to open up the incoming of the Shabbat. I want to greet each and every one of you by saying Shabbat Shalom to those of you that are on the live stream with us as well. And whatever part of the world you're in, whatever time of the day it is, may Yahweh Baruch each and every one of you. This evening, we want to talk about Yisrael's restoration. No long drawn out title or anything, but just simply put, Yisrael's restoration. I want to open up reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 25. And I'll read a portion of Matthew 25. Starting at verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the Kodesh Malachim, or the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. And then shall the Malach, or the king, say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye Baruch, or blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you did clothe me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. But then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungered and feed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? Or when did we see you as a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and came unto you? And the Malach, or the king, shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you've done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, but you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and didn't minister unto you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not unto the least of these, ye did it not unto me. And they shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous, or the Siddiq, into life eternal. And may Abba Yahweh place the power of his presence upon each and every one of you and order your hearts and your minds and your actions right before him, so as to allow you in that day to be placed upon the right hand of the king as opposed to the left. May Yahweh allow you all to be a part of Yisrael's restoration as Yisrael goes from the current state of sinfulness as well as the current lowly state that we're in society today to that glorified state whereby we're compensated for everything that we've ever been deprived of and everything that we've ever been cheated or robbed of. May Yahweh allow you to be partakers in that day and allow you to wake in the first resurrection. Now, as we go on and we discuss Israel's restoration, we want to talk about this restoration, and it's a pertinent conversation during the fact that this is what America calls the 400-year anniversary of our introduction, supposed introduction to this part of the world, even though some of their own historical records say we've been here much longer than that. But since they want to say we've been here 400 years and the talk of reparations and retribution and supposedly making some things right as a result of slavery is on a lot of people's tongues, we're going to talk about it from a scriptural standpoint, because unlike what the world wants to throw out to you or give you the impression that they will cut some checks and they're going to pay you or what have you, or you might possibly get your 40 acres and your mule or what have you, even though nobody has ever even so much as gotten a 40 ounce in a pit bull yet from these people. But we're going to talk about it this evening from a scriptural standpoint, because unlike the checks of reparation that people are anticipating, Yahweh's got something much greater in his word lined up for us. The Hebrew words Gadol Rekush, great substance. And when you look that up, particularly in the book of Genesis, during the life of Abraham, you find that substance, that phrase used, and it goes beyond just mere currency. It goes far beyond just mere money. It constituted a level of wealth that being under Gentile captivity has conditioned us to not even so much as fathom. When we think of wealth and riches in this society today, most people just automatically think of paper and coin currency. But no, Yahweh's going to grant us something far greater. Everything that we've been robbed of. The heathens don't have enough currency in their Federal Reserve. The heathens don't have enough currency that the International Monetary Fund or the Federal Reserve overseas or the World Bank, they don't have enough currency to compensate us for the things that we were robbed of. Namely, our identity, our sense of spirituality, our relationship with the Most High, our knowledge of the Creator, our understanding and our ability to call upon him by his Kodesh name. Not God, not Jesus, not Allah, not Buddha, not any of these other pagan names that people teach you to refer to the Creator as under the premise, well, he's got many names. No, he doesn't. He has one name. Man has chosen to follow the lead of Shaitan and ascribe to him many names that aren't his. But when we talk about Israel's restoration, we're also talking about things that we were deprived of, such as our right to be a nation, our right to govern our homes and our families, the way that Yahweh commanded us to, our right to govern our communities, the way in which Almighty Yahweh originally intended for us to do so. When we talk about Israel's restoration, we're also talking about Israel being restored back to their rightful land. Can you imagine how offensive it is right now? You think of the people of Israel. You mention Israel to most people, they automatically refer in their minds to the pale-faced lepers with the small hats or the beanies on their head that occupy Jerusalem today. But that's not who Yahweh talking about restoring. Can you imagine how offensive that would be for somebody to ransack your home, somebody come into your house, burglarize your place, run your family out while you're away, and then when you come back, they masquerading as you. They got your bathrobe on, they got your slippers and everything on, they sitting on your favorite spot on the couch, They got their feet up on your ottoman. They watching your TV or eating your favorite food out the refrigerator, pretending to be you, and don't want you to get upset or say anything about it. And if that pisses you off, just imagine how Almighty Yahweh feels, knowing that there's a seed out here in this earth that's not his, but they're masquerading and pretending to be Yahweh's people and got the whole world duped. But Almighty Yahweh's going to pull the wool off of their whole scam. He's going to pull the wool off of the sham. He's going to let the whole world know who his people are and who he chose. And in the process of revealing to the world who his people are, the whole world going to get a major shock when they look up and realize, you mean them niggas? No, and I don't say that word to offend or disrespect any of us, but I use that word from the vantage point of the world. You know that's how they refer to us. You know that's what they speak of us as. Even in our best state, even the president. I'll use 44 as an example. Barack Obama, he's a man who never even so much as had a parking ticket. The man who, by the standards that they set of what righteous living is, the man met all their criteria, but still, they depicted him and his wife and his children as monkeys, bastards, and every other thing, and that word nigger. But the world's gonna get a shock when they look up and realize those same niggas who they look down their noses at, those same niggas who they murdered in the streets, those same black people who they slaughtered, miseducated, vaccinated, fed inadequate food, and redlined and pigeonholed to the margins of society, were the people that the Most High instituted his relationship with from the very beginning. Now, as we talk about Yisrael's restoration and why Yisrael needs to be restored, no discussion of Yisrael's current state of affairs as well as Yisrael's return to their future state of glory is complete without a visit to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Because so many times you find our people, we like to look at our history, we like to look at our past, we like to see how great we were, all of the accomplishments that we did. Yeah, we built the pyramids, but now you occupy the projects. We did this, we did that, we did so and so and so. But now you're in the alley shooting dope. Now you're around the corner robbing people. Now you're breaking in houses. But nobody wants to discuss that pivotal moment in our history as a people where we fell from that state of greatness. Everybody like to talk about how great we used to be, all of the accomplishments that we had prior to the transatlantic slave trade, but nobody ever wants to talk about how we screwed up. And nobody wants to discuss where it was that we went wrong. There was a song, brother was on the job playing a song earlier in the week. I forget who sang the song, but anyway, one of the little rap songs, and the brother in the song was saying that he was a king in general from the land of precious resources and minerals before the devil entered the land of the plentiful. But nobody ever wants to talk about that entrance point where the devil got in. Nobody ever wants to talk about how we went into captivity. But if we're going to discuss Israel's restoration, you got to visit Deuteronomy 28. Because Almighty Yahweh gave us the instructions, what we were to do, and he laid out for us what the benefits would be if we stuck to the instructions that he gave us. We'd be blessed in everything. Said he would bless our basket, our store, the cattle, the fruit of our body, the works of our hands. Everything would be blessed as long as we held up to our end of the bargain and kept Yahweh's word. But in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, he says unto us, but it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all of his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. And I'm not going to read the remainder of this chapter, but I'm going to read certain portions of it, just to show for those that might be new to this channel, those that might be newly visiting this channel, we're going to paint the picture of Israel. We're going to lay out contextual clues for the world who this people are. Because ain't nobody else meeting this criteria nowhere on the planet, with the exception of a certain group of people that's here in America that's downtrodden and trampled, as well as scattered in other parts of the world. But one striking thing that they all bear in common, this little substance right here, melanin. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your store. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land. the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep. Look at how they treat us today. They cursed in the city. They got a new word today to describe the cursing. When they get rid of you and they no longer want you in the cities, they come on along rather than nigger renewal. They come up with all these different phrases. Urban renewal, gentrification, the move to opportunity, urban revitalization, all these different things. They hate you. They despise you. They want you out of the city, so they work diligently day and night to come up with all sorts of formulas and plots to get you out of the cities and pigeonhole you into the surrounding counties in the rural areas. But when they send you to those areas, they don't equip you with the know-how or even so much as the appreciation of the land to know how to cultivate it and grow your own foods and things of that nature. When they hate you and they despise you and they show you their hatred and their disdain for you in so many ways in the city. They gun you down in the street. Those that aren't gunned down in the street, they miseducate you in the schools. They don't miseducate you in the schools. They come on along and they poison you by way of the foods in which you eat. So many different things that they do to you. And all these different things that we suffer under is a result of our disobedience unto Almighty Yahweh. And it's generation. It's hereditary. It's passed down. It ain't like just one generation of us get to go through it, and then the following generation, they get a reprieve. Well, Yahweh was just mad at mommy and daddy. Or he was just mad at granddaddy and them because they screwed up, but we all right. No, this thing is generational. It goes on further and it says, Yahweh shall send upon them cursing, vexing, and rebuke, and all that you set your hand unto to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings, wherever you've forsaken me. Look at us today. Everything in which we try to put our hand to is failing, is faltering. Excuse me. Every way, shape, and form. We come up with different businesses and we look to thrive and flourish, and oftentimes our businesses fail the fastest. Our businesses, we can start them up. We can sit down with the most well thought out business plans and proposals and everything. Our businesses be tanking. And the reason they tank, primarily, we don't support each other. We always looking for some kind of handout, some kind of homeboy hookup, or we just simply want to squander and waste the resources of our brothers and sisters. And it's not just happenstance. No, it's the spirit that the Almighty Yahweh placed upon us. And then when you get beyond the lack of support that we receive from one another, then you got to factor in the disdain and the hatred and the sabotage that the nations introduce into the equation, where they try to overtax you, want to overcharge you for the materials and the resources and everything that you need. Then you couple that with all of the requirements that they want you to meet and all of the hurdles that they want you to jump through just to be able to operate and provide a means of flourishing for yourself outside of their control. And then when you do meet all of their requirements and you got the green light to go on ahead and you looking to do business and help your brothers and sisters out, they the very ones trying to stab you in the back, looking to cheat you, looking to rob you and exploit you, while simultaneously still wanting to be able to utilize your services. They complain about you while you're in business. They complain about you while you're operating. But then when you're no longer operable, oh man, I need somebody to put this brickwork in the yard. I want to build this flower bed. Man, I need somebody to come on along, cut this grass, but man, I need somebody to come on along, put this light bulb and this ceiling fan in for me. But you wouldn't support the brick masons. You wouldn't support the black landscapers. You wouldn't support the black lawn care companies. You wouldn't support the black electricians. They give you fair prices, but they give you prices that allow them to be able to help you while not lowballing or putting themselves in a state of debt and servitude that you don't support them. Oh man, that's too high. But then you go out here to the other nationalities and you support them with no problem. Here it is. They give you the nigger rate, where they multiply and double and triple everything just because it's you. But then they spin around and give their brothers all kinds of rebates and coupons and deals, and you go run to them. All these different things happening to us as a result of our disobedience unto Almighty Yahweh's word. But yet, at the same time, as bleak as it may look, as horrible as it may sound, if we continue to strive to keep Almighty Yahweh's word, there's a time coming where these conditions will be pulled up off of us. The same way in which you can see a brother get jumped on in the street and 10 or 12 people might jump on him, and then help comes along and they get to breaking up the scuffle and pull the different people off of them. That's how Almighty Yahweh is going to pull these spiritual conditions up off of us. We're going to have to take a beating before we receive our restoration. We're going to have to go through some embarrassments. We're going to have to go through some humiliations. We're going to have to go through some things. There's some that's going to even have to taste of death before Yisrael is restored. to their former and an even greater state of glory than what we've ever even imagined. Let's go a little bit further in Deuteronomy 28. Yahweh says here in Deuteronomy 28:25, Yahweh shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you should be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. That's where we're at today. You look at all of the historical writings and all of the texts from all of the scholars. Don't just go get ours. Don't just go get Dr. Yusuf Ben Yohanan. Don't go just get John Henry Clark's work. Don't go and just get the works of Ishaka Musa Barashango. Nah, go get the works of Stephen Oppenheimer and others. Go get some of the works of those white scholars also. When you're going to get the works of Sheikh Anthony Diop and Francis Fanon and others, go get some of those works of those white scholars as well to sit back and tell the truth, to lay out for you. Ain't a place on this planet where there was not melanated presence. Go get that stuff. Go get it. See if it don't line up with the scripture. Tell me Yahweh wasn't keeping his word when he said we'd be scattered into all the kingdoms of the earth. You go back and look at all these nations today. Delve deep into their archives. Go digging. Don't just hit the surface. No, go conduct sure enough excavations. Go deep into the dirt and pull up all of the archives of all of the nations. You'll see that at the very foundation of it is somebody that look like you and me. Somebody with some frizzy hair. Somebody with some wide nostrils. Somebody with some big lips at the very foundation of it. And even today, as much as they try to nullify or overlook our existence in this world, you can find us all over the planet, scattered. And we're in the same condition wherever we scatter. We're at the lowest rung of the ladder. We're at the bottom of the totem pole. But there's a day coming where such is not going to be. Yahshua HaMashiach told the apostles that there's a time coming where those that are last shall be first. And many that are first shall be last. Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and Don Amici had that movie in Hollywood years ago, Trading Places, where Eddie Murphy was the bum and Dan Aykroyd was the rich man in 2 traded roles. Ain't an accurate enough depiction for what Yisrael and the seed of Shaitan going to go through in this earth. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go back here into the book of Yeshayah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. And if you got a bookmark or what have you, you can set your bookmark in the book of Yeshayah, because we're going to be back and forth throughout different books throughout the course of this lesson. But we're going to spend a lot of time in the book of Yeshayah concerning Israel's restoration. Isaiah 42:22 says, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They're all of them snared in holes, and they're hidden in prison houses, and therefore prey, and none delivers. Therefore spoil, and none says restore. Look at our people today. Look at our condition. There's this one phrase that people throw out, and they use it quite frequently to describe how often we go to jail. And you know you're going to jail a lot when people got to create new phrases to describe the frequency with which you're being incarcerated. Look at, take for example, the prison industry complex. Mass incarceration. You know you're going to jail when new phrases and terms had to be entered into the public's vernacular just to describe the unequal proportion in which you being incarcerated. And nobody sees anything wrong with it. Black man, white man go out and commit the exact same crime, same night, same time frame, same location and everything. But by the time they go to trial, the sentence disparities come in. Black woman, black, white woman go out, commit the exact same crime, get locked up, same night, same time, but by the time they go to court, completely different sentences. Looked up, there's, you don't believe me, you can check the stories. I forget the brothers, I forget their names offhand, but 2 athletes, they play for Sacred Heart. A white woman in New York lied on the both of them. She just went off, got drunk one night, had sex with the both of them, accused both of them of raping. Boyfriend finds out about the risque behavior, so rather than just bear the embarrassment of being the whore that she was, she goes on off and she pulls a Carol Dorothy Bryant. You all know her, the woman that lied, said Emmett Till whistled at her, what have you. The white woman goes off today, 20 years old, she lies on the 2 brothers, get them locked up. Here it was, they ain't raped a soul. 20 years. Then on the other side of the strata, you want to look it up later, go check out Brock Turner. Now they caught Brock Turner in the act of raping the woman behind the dumpster. Caught him flat out. 6 months. 3 of that was probation. Supervised. Tell me we ain't snared and hidden away in holes and in prison houses. And of all the nations and the nationalities and all the elected officials, nobody says restore. Nobody speaks out against it. Nobody lifts up a cry. Nobody says, well, we locking these folks up disproportionately. Now, we 13% of the population and been 13% of America's population for pretty much most of my lifetime. But with all the production that we have, we don't have any time, we don't have any money, we don't have any resources. In some instances, we don't have a place to stay, but we got time to procreate though. And we keep on making babies in the midst of all our poverty, but our population percentage don't get beyond 13. Strange set of circumstances. I don't know what type of mathematics they doing, but we reproduce and we got everybody beat as far as reproduction, but yet we still top out at 13%. But we move beyond 13% when it comes time to go to jail though. 67, 68% of the prison population, but yet we own 13% of the nation's population. But yet nobody sees anything wrong with this. But Almighty Yahweh talking about it, laying it out in his word. And this is a part of the restoration of Yisrael. He says that therefore pray and none delivers, therefore spoil and none says restore. Everybody on the planet knows the truth of Yisrael. Everybody knows the black man and the black woman's significance in the grand scheme of this universe that we in. Everybody knows, but yet nobody says a word. Why? Because everybody cashes in and they reap the benefits of exploiting you because of your disobedience to Almighty Yahweh's word. But there's a day coming where the nation's going to lose their cash cow. There's a day coming where Yahweh's going to take these people, going to clean the sin off of them. But even also, in the midst of Israel's restoration, Israel's going to suffer many things. And some of the things that Israel's going to suffer, it's going to seem tough in the beginning. It's going to seem tough initially, but it's going to be to Israel's greater benefit. Yahweh says that along the way, before we're restored, Yahweh says he's going to purge from among us the rebels. Now, Yahweh ain't just going to take us all and just give the whole nation of Israel the kingdom with our sinful mindsets to the point where we just go automatically looking for fault in others. And we just automatically bypass all of the righteous deeds of a brother or sister. But one perceived fault, we take that. Now, suddenly, we wipe them out of being eligible for salvation. And we think we ourselves going to go into the kingdom with a mind like that. We rise up against the elders. We stand up and we fight against the priests while having little to no knowledge of Yahweh's Torah ourselves. But we seek to supplant them. We seek to supersede them. And then don't dare let them be people that Yahweh's dealing with. Then we really show our ass as far as our disrespect towards the priesthood. But yet we think we pertinent and fit for salvation. But Yahweh say he's going to remove us. He's going to remove some of the things that got to be purged from us. But yet, these are the types of things people don't want to discuss. But in this 21st verse, Yahweh says that he's pleased, well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He says that he'll magnify the law and make it honorable. Right now, people don't think nothing of the law today. Right now, people look at the law and they count it as a strange thing, or they do as Yeshua says in another place, they cast it behind their backs. Everything that Yahweh's word commands us to do, that's what we condemn. And everything that Yahweh's word condemns, that's what we command other people to do. We embrace the homosexuality. We embrace the lesbianism. We embrace the pedophilia. We embrace all of the foods and the things that Yahweh commanded us to not eat. But then the healthy, righteous living that Almighty Yahweh gave to us and subscribed for us, we don't want that. No. Yahweh says that he's going to take the law. He's going to magnify it and make it honorable. You know how you do a thing when you're looking at your phone or what have you, and you see a picture or something in the picture catches your attention, and you zoom in on it, you magnify it. That's what Yahweh's going to do to the law before the world. The whole world will have to zoom in and zero in on Almighty Yahweh's law. And they're going to have to look at even the smallest aspects of Yahweh's law in order to learn it. And they ain't going to Morgan State to learn it. They ain't going to Yale to learn it. They ain't going to Cambridge. They ain't going to Oxford. They ain't going to Howard. But they're going to come to Israel to learn of Almighty Yahweh's law. Let's go back here into the book of Ezekiel. Now remember, you keep your bookmark. You keep your mark there in Isaiah, because we're going to come back to Isaiah. But for right now, we're going to go into Ezekiel chapter 20. Let's go here. Right now, still talking about Israel's restoration. Right now, we in strange land. We in nations that we ourselves are foreign to, while simultaneously there's a nation that's not foreign to us that one day we'll be reintroduced to. That nation will be our homeland. And Almighty Yahweh even talks about it. Many people rose up in times past trying to reunite us and reconnect us with our homeland. Many people rose up trying to take us back to Africa. But for various reasons, and because it wasn't Yahweh's time, their movements failed. Not to any fault of the leaders, but due to the fact that it wasn't Yahweh's will and it wasn't that time. So therefore, other unsavory elements from among our people rose up to work in conjunction with the devil to overthrow any positive works that we were attempting to pull off. But let's go here into the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20. I'll start here at verse 33. As I live, saith Yahweh, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. See, I was not playing. I was going to whip us into shape. The same way in which we go into the military, the same way in which we'll go on off into police academies and other security institutions and what have you to obtain work or to obtain employment, in the same way in which they come down with rigorous leadership to whip you into shape and to instill discipline in you. Almighty Yahweh is going to do the same thing for us as his people. But it says further, and I'll bring you out from the people, and I will gather you out of the countries wherein you were scattered with a mighty hand and with the stretched out arm and with fury poured out. So the same way we read in Deuteronomy 28, how Yahweh would scatter us into all of the nations, Almighty Yahweh is going to be the one to regather us as well. That's why many of the movements to take us back to Africa and to get us back home, that's why so many of them would fail in the way in which they were, because it was not their job. Even though they may have had well intentions for it, it was not their job to do it. But Almighty Yahweh says he's going to gather us from the nations that we were scattered. It says, I'll bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as I pleaded with you and your fathers in the wilderness in the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith Yahweh. There was the land of Egypt in the wilderness where Yahweh made the covenant with us. He brought us out of captivity. He brought us from under an oppressive regime that was determined to wipe us out and obliterate us. And he played with us. He pleaded with us. And he sat back and he made an agreement with us, entered into a covenant. But yet, one thing that people fail to take into consideration, Yahweh brought Israel out of the land of captivity, out of the tutelage and from under the leadership of another nation to establish them as a nation. But yet, the spirit of complacency was upon them to the point where they had been so conditioned to being ruled over, they had been so conditioned to remaining captives and slaves that when the pressure of assuming the roles of leaders and rulers and governors and builders and architects was placed upon them, many of them fell short and couldn't keep up with their end of the bargain. Like so many of us today, we talk about everybody wants the white man to get theirs. Everybody wants to see the overthrow of America, but yet at the same time, nobody's really contemplating what all of that entails. If it comes to fruition, nobody's contemplating, well, all right, okay, if we overthrow them, how are we going to get our water? Who's going to build the housing and dwelling for us after this is all over with? Who's going to provide security for our nation now? People are not thinking on that scale. But then when you try to get people to even so much as consider thinking along those lines, the opposition fights come in, people come in with arguments, they want to debate and bicker. But even when you show them in the word that that's the type of responsibility that's going to be placed upon us, people don't want to hear those types of things. People just want to be whisked on up into heaven. But no, everything that Yahweh promises to give Israel is going to take place right down here in the earth. Yahweh said, and I will cause you to pass under the rod. So you got to take a beat. You got some correction and some chastisement coming before you are truly restored. It says also, and I'll bring you into the bond of the covenant. Right now, we break the covenant. Right now, we run at breakneck speed to be out from under the bond of the covenant. Oh, we're not under the law today. We're under grace. Until Cousin James gets shot and killed. Then suddenly we want to call the police because the book says thou shalt not kill. We ain't under the law. We're under grace. Until that car gets stolen and we can't go to work and drop the babies off at daycare. Then suddenly we want to call the police. Nah, you under grace. Let the thief who managed to gracefully steal your car while you were asleep, let him have it. Keep it moving. Download the Uber app, download the Lyft app, or whatever other ride sharing app. Get the bus, walk, do whatever, since you're under grace and not under the law. It's funny how people like to discard and throw away Yahweh's word until it's convenient to keep it. But Yahweh says he's going to bring us into the bond of the covenant. Ain't no breaking it, ain't no backsliding, no half-handed keeping of the Torah in that day and time. When Yahweh restores us, we're going to enter wholeheartedly into an agreement with him. And it says also in verse 38, and I'll purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. You know, wherever you get us together, there's always somebody. No matter what the agenda is, it could be just something as simple as cleaning up a room and rearranging the furniture. Whatever the agenda is, there's somebody going to rebel. Well, I feel though the rooms should stay the same. In fact, never mind cleaning up. Let's bring more trash. There's always going to be one. Whatever the agenda is that we're working towards, there's always going to be somebody to buck. So, hey, y'all, let's get together and go on off here and keep the Shabbat. No, nigga can't do that. Nigga, I got to go over here. I'm going to roll this blunt. And me and Keith going over here. We're going to buy some liquor later on. We're going to smoke this and drink that. We holler at y'all on Sunday. Scripture says keep the Shabbat. You got somebody that's going to rebel. Whatsoever the case may be, there's always going to be somebody to rebel. And before Israel can be truly restored to their former state of righteousness, Yahweh says he's going to purge out from among us the rebels and them that transgress against me. He says, and I'll bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I'm Yahweh. That's tough. Sometimes you get around and realize that you might be in closer proximity to the rebels that Almighty Yahweh say he's going to purge out than you might even care to realize. But the scripture does talk about in 2 instances. It talks about one instance, one prophet said that he dwelt among them that is set on fire. In another place, another servant of Yahweh asked, who among us shall dwell with everlasting burning? What you think will happen to these rebels when Almighty Yahweh purges them out? You think they just going on off into prison? You think they're going to just sit like they on Rikers Island or like they in Alcatraz or something? No, they're going to be burned and bound. As Yahshua HaMashiach said, they'll be bound and thrown into everlasting torment. But let's go a little bit further. Let's go back into the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 34. There's a lot of components that Israel that contains to our restoration. Components which many of them I won't even be able to address in this particular lesson because there's so many different things that Yahweh's going to restore unto us that we lack in this lifetime. There's so many different things that we stand in need of that we don't have, but Yahweh's going to give them all to us that I can't even squeeze in this lesson. But let's go here in Ezekiel chapter 34. Start here at verse 11. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, even I will both search my sheep and seek them out. Just reading where Yahweh said he will purge from among us the rebels. Yahweh said he's going to search his sheep as well as seek them out. He's going to comb the four winds of the earth. He's going to comb the four corners of the earth. He's going to gather the sheep. Then after gathering, he's going to search them. It ain't going to be one of them pat down searches where you got any guns, you got any dope? Nah, he's going to search your heart. He's going to search your mind to see if you're really, truly sincere. Not that he doesn't already know, but it's going to be an initial purging process. It's going to be a weeding out process, separation of the tares from among the wheat. It says, as a shepherd seeks out his flock in the day, that is he among the sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep, and I'll deliver them out of all the places where they've been scattered in cloudy and dark day. And I'll bring them out from the people, and I'll gather them from the countries, and I will bring them to their own land, and feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country. Ain't gonna be no vacant houses in the kingdom. Ain't gonna be no gentrification in the kingdom. Ain't gonna be no tearing down of a whole city block in the kingdom and you run the original inhabitants and residents of the community out and you construct an apartment building full of condos and you make the thing so pricey and so unaffordable that the original inhabitants of the community can't even so much as afford to stand across the street from them and look at them because they cost so much. Ain't gonna be none of that in the kingdom. But yet that's what we go through right now as a result of our disobedience unto Almighty Yahweh's word. People sit back. You can take the city of Baltimore, for instance. The city Recent reports said that Baltimore lost about close to 7,500 residents between 2017 and 2018. So city now, their reports say a little less than 500,000 people. But yet, in this city with 500,000 people, you got well over 20,000 vacant houses. Houses that are in fairly decent condition in many instances. Just sitting around, uninhabited, boarded up. But yet you got homeless people being pushed around all throughout the city. The homeless people get together and they coagulate in certain segments of the city. Next thing you know, the mayor comes down heavy-handedly and puts legislation in place to where the would-be dwelling that they had temporarily, they moved out of it. They forced out of it. They sent elsewhere. But then when they get elsewhere and they make a new makeshift dwelling, that is ran over. And all of the tents and things that they constructed, thrown away. But yet, houses sitting back, idle, without an inhabitant, houses without a man, just like the book of Yeshayah said they would be. But in the kingdom, now we're talking about feeding Yisrael upon the mountains, by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country. Yahshua told us by way of his conversation with the apostles, he said that in my Father's house are many mansions. If it was not, I would not tell you. Yahweh says, I will feed them in a good pasture, and upon the high mountains of Israel shall their fold be. There shall they lie in a good fold, and in fat pasture shall they feed upon the mountains of Israel. Right now, you ain't exactly in the greatest of folds. You ain't exactly in the best fold. You ain't exactly got the fattest pastures right now. No matter how nice a house we got, no matter how nice of a neighborhood we think we in, no matter how plentiful we think our worldly possessions are, or the food that's in our cabinets and refrigerators, we ain't got fat pastures. We ain't in plentiful habitations. No, we still got to grapple with things such as home invasions, burglaries, robberies, break-ins, foods and things of that nature, contaminated and poisoned. All these different things that we contend with. But such will not be the case in the time of Israel's restoration. Hallelujah. Yahweh says, I will feed my flock, and I will cause them to lie down, saith Yahweh. And I will seek that which was lost, and bring again that which was driven away, and will bind up that which was broken, and will strengthen that which was sick. But I will destroy the fat and the strong, and I will feed them with judgment. Look at the fat and the strong right now. Fat and the strong exploiting you. The fat and the strong make you pay them taxes out of your income. The fat and the strong take you by your paycheck and by the throat every week, or how often you pay, and they exact and extort money from you. Long before you even get paid, you get shook down. The fat and the strong make you go out and have to buy a fishing license. Now, the earth is ours and the fullness thereof, but yet the fat and the strong bully you. Hey, you over there with that rod and that water, get over here. Put that back. Do you have a license? If you don't have a license, get down there, you go buy the license, and then we'll let you go and fish over there at a specified time of the year. Otherwise, get the hell on out of here. You got to go on off. You got to pay somebody else to be able to utilize your right to survive and live that was given to you by Almighty Yahweh. This is why Yahweh said the fat and the strong, he will feed them with judgment. And as for you, O my flock, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I judge between cattle and cattle, between the rams and the he-goats. Seemeth it a small thing unto you to have eaten up the good pasture? But you must tread down with your feet the residue of your pastures, and to have drunk of the deep waters, but you must foul the residue of your feet. See, there's a day coming where all that they took from us, all of the exploitation that we went through, all of our vital resources and every skill set that we had possessed, that others took from us and utilized and exploited to their benefit while leaving us out in the cold. There's a day coming where they're going to all have to pay for that. There's a day coming where all of the nations that exploited Israel are going to have to be paid back and made to suffer under the same injustices that they perpetuated upon Yahweh's people, while Yahweh's people are pulled up out of the muck and the mire. Those that are beaten, those that are weakened, those that are broken down, their wounds will be healed. They'll be strengthened. The tears of injustice and tragedies that they've endured will be wiped from their eyes by way of Almighty Yahweh himself. So says the book of Revelations. These are the things that The nations can't cut a check big enough to pay for. These are the things that no amount of financial aid from any of the world's governments can come up to. There's things that we've suffered as a people. No government checks, no financial aid can so much as total to the damages or even begin to put a band-aid upon the wounds of the wicked that we've endured. But let's go on a little bit further. Still in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34. We're going to jump down a couple verses. Let's go down here to verse 26. Yahweh says here, and I will make them in the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down in its season, and there shall be showers of blessings. We sing that song here when the praises go up, the blessings come down. Another song, the windows of heaven are open. Yeah, there's a day coming where that song will not just be a song. It won't be just words, but it will be an actualization of Almighty Yahweh's blessings literally being rained down upon his people. Hallelujah. And the tree of the field shall yield her fruit. And it ain't going to be no genetically modified fruit either. It ain't going to be no genetically engineered fruit brought to you by Monsanto without seeds to reproduce itself either. And the earth shall yield her increase, and they shall be safe in their land, and they being you, the people of Yisrael, Almighty Yahweh's chosen people. They shall be safe in their land, and shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have broken the bands of their yoke and delivered them out of the hand of those that serve. Says they coming with your oppressor will no longer be your oppressor. The yoke, the chains, the bondage, all of the captivity that you're in, everything that they use to bound you in this society today, there's a day coming where all of those chains will be broken. All of those fetters of iron will be unleashed from Yahweh's people, even down to the spiritual conditions that lay us down and hold us in check. There's a day coming where Yahweh's going to loose all of those chains from us. That's what we're talking about when we speak of Israel's restoration. And they shall no more be a prey to the heathen. There's a day coming where the heathens ain't going to be able to exploit you. The way in which they cash in now off of your disobedience to Almighty Yahweh, to where one wicked act committed by you keeps several different industries revolving on its axis. You going off, you commit one crime, but now suddenly there's a judge that gets paid for the crime that you committed. There's a probation officer that you got to see now that gets paid for the crime that you committed. There's somebody that handles the urine that you have to now fork over now. Then also there's a jailer that gets paid off of that one crime that you committed. There's a police officer that gets paid for. There's a prosecuting attorney as well as a defense attorney that get paid off of the one crime that you committed. Meanwhile, you go to jail. And the job that you were seeking after that might have paid $21 or $22 an hour, you can't get it now because you got a felony. But you can go to jail, though. You can take up that same trade or that same profession, and they'll give you $2 a day. But Yahweh said there's a day coming where you will no more be a prey to the heathens, and neither shall the beasts of the land devour them, but they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid. And by the beasts of the land no more devouring you, that's the two-legged as well as the four-legged. Ain't gonna be no more when animals attack. Ain't be no more instances of police brutality. Ain't be no more instances of Yahweh's people murdered, shot down in the street. Not even so much as pit bull attacks and maulings anymore, because Yahweh will have restored such a great state of peace to this earth that even the nations, their weapons, be melted down and bust down and reduced to farming equipment when Israel is restored to their true state of glory and righteousness. And they shall no more be consumed with hunger in the land, and neither bear the shame of the heathens anymore. Won't be no more of them feed the children commercials with the babies that look like they weigh 17 or 18 pounds, and 16 of the pounds that they look like they weigh is in their stomach. Now, it won't be no more of those days. There will be no more economic disparity. There will be no more starvation or no more small cadres of people like the Forbes and the Fortune 500. There will be no more hordes of rich people gathering up 3/4 of the world's wealth while the rest of the world starve and fight for the scraps. There'll be no more of that when Israel obtains their true restoration. Let's go back here. I told you all to hold your bookmarks in the book of Yeshayahu. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 60. Because there's so much that pertains to the restoration of Israel. We look right now in society, they take everything from us. They take our jobs from us. They take our skills from us. They take our income from us. They take our rights to live and keep Almighty Yahweh's word. They take our babies from us. They take the fruit of our bodies from us. Man, I can't even, give me a second. I'm trying to find the words to describe the level of thievery and exploitation that goes on in society. And you know you're a different level of thief when you can steal that which is not even tangible. It's understandable you steal a watch, you steal a coat, you steal a car, things like that. But you on a different scale of thievery when you can steal things that can't even be picked up and moved, such as countries, cultures, people's identity. You on a different level of thievery. And if you think that's something, you on a completely different level of thievery when you get to stealing things that you can't even so much as see, but yet you feel its presence, like a person's energy or a person's time. You're on a different level of thievery when you apply so much pressure to a people that the people just bog down and just don't even have the will to fight against you physically, or even in many instances the will or the desire or the energy to lift up a cry of prayer or punishment against you in the spiritual. That's a different level of thievery there. When you put so much pressure on a person, you steal their energy and their time and beat them down to the point where they just feel as though they have absolutely no hope. But Yahweh's going to bring all of that to an end. Yahweh's bringing it all to an end, whether the world likes it or not. Everything that we've been robbed of, Almighty Yahweh's going to give it back to us. We sit back now, our homes, our original homeland, robbed, exploited, ransacked. But Almighty Yahweh says here in the book of Yeshayahu chapter 60 verse 10 that the sons of strangers shall build up your walls and their kings shall minister unto you. Donald Trump ain't going to be preaching to you in the kingdom age. Vladimir Putin ain't going to be preaching to you in the kingdom age. When it says that their kings shall minister unto you, they coming in now as what they refer to our ancestors as. Y'all seen the McGraw-Hill textbooks where they done whitewashed slavery and took away the brutality and referred to them as unpaid interns. That's what Yahweh's word means when it says that their king shall minister unto you. They coming in, they gonna help you. They coming in, they gonna assist you. They coming in as your labor force. They coming in as your bricklayers, your masons, your construction workers. They coming in as your butlers, your nannies. They coming in as your babysitters. You sit back today, you can comb the cities of America and you can see black women walking the streets and pushing strollers or walking with little white children or children of other nationalities because they babysit these children, and these parents entrust their children into the care of the very same people that they hate and despise, which is the strangest thing. Ain't nowhere in the world hate and despise you so much, but here I'm going to trust my children to you and do it blindly. But yet they do that to us. But yet we're such a threat to them as a people. Every time you turn around, they got so many different fears concerning us. But yet they let us handle their food. They let us be their security. They let us watch their babies. But yet the roles is going to reverse. Now we said it here. The sons of strangers shall build up your walls, and their kings shall minister unto you. See, look at Zaken Dawid. Zaken Dawid in the construction industry as a brick mason. He sustains different injuries from time to time as a result of working on the job and overworking. But there's a day coming where Zaken Dawid, as much as he might love to, he won't be able to swing his trial in Almighty Yahweh's kingdom because it ain't going to be his job in that day and age. And the other brothers who work in the construction and the building trades in Yisrael, they won't be able to do it. Why? Because they'll be overseeing the nations if the strangers come and build your wall. Won't be no carpal tunnel syndrome for Yisrael in that day and age. The nations going to have to come and build up that which they destroyed. The literal land as well as the people who inhabit the land. For in my wrath I smote you. It's Yahweh talking to us now. Yeah, he was angry with us at the moment. Just like any parent is with a child that disobeys. You got to reach out and tap a child from time to time. Come here, get over here, sit down. Sometimes you got to smite them, and it's not always physical. Sometimes it's verbal. But just as parents have to correct their children, Almighty Yahweh had to do the same thing to us. It says, for in my wrath I smote you, but in my favor have I had mercy upon you. If we think we being smoked now, if we think we enduring Almighty Yahweh's wrath now, we had better pray and ask Almighty Yahweh give us even more strength to endure that which is coming our way as a people. Not because we say this or we sadistic and we like the punishment and the pain, but nah, we had better pray and cry out unto Almighty Yahweh and ask Him to strengthen us to be able to endure, because that's what Yahshua HaMashiach says is needed. He says, those who endure to the end shall be saved. There's some things coming Israel's way, but yet at the same time, there's also some things coming the way of the world and the Gentiles too. But if we can just endure what's coming our way and Almighty Yahweh strengthen us and allow us to do so, and we don't turn back and we continue to keep them commandments, the blessings and the rewards and the joy and the benefits are unlike any 401k or any pension plan or any severance package that you could ever imagine. Man gives you these jobs and these agreements and they enter into, well, if you work X amount of years here, we'll give you this, that, and the other a month. But if you go on beyond that period of time and you work X amount of years here and go beyond that, we'll give you ever so much money a month. But you got to put in this time. And they promise you all these different things. People sit back and look at the retirements and the pensions. And as we get closer and closer to the end of the Gentiles' era of rule, you're seeing many people getting their hearts broken now because they're putting in decades. Some instances close to half centuries working only to get there and get to the age of retirement and find out ain't nothing there for them because the people that lied and finagled the paperwork and put in new clauses or exercised hidden clauses and exploited the people or the companies they were working for or whoever the hedge fund managers were that were overseeing their pensions took the money and ran like a brother in the alley at the back of a dice game before the police show up. But not with Yahweh. We stick to Yahweh's commandments and we endure to the end. Yahweh got a benefit package, the likes of which we had never thought of. Yahweh. And we're going a little bit further. Let's go back here. We're going to leave Yeshayah. We're going to leave Isaiah. You still keep your bookmark there, but we're going to go to Jeremiah now. We're going to jump in here, Jeremiah chapter 31. Because there is no need in delivering the people, saving the people from their oppressors, bringing them out of their oppressive regime and their care and custody. And then there's no need in restoring unto these people and giving them land, housing, and things of that nature, and servants, giving them all of that, but still letting them keep the same sinful state of mind which they were in prior to them being restored. Just as people looking to be restored or compensated as a result of their ancestors being survivors of slavery or what have you, and they want to be paid and they want to be compensated. Okay, you have a right to that. With all that we went through as Yahweh's people, there are things that Yahweh has in store for us. We got a right to it, but we also obliged to do some things. We got some obligations as well. And there's no need in giving the person all of that, but yet letting them keep the same wicked mind. It's like taking a person from the projects who's never had any major experience managing money, but yet you give them $100 million. And then you get mad at them because they broke in 4 years. Wouldn't make sense. So just as there are things whereby you may need money management courses for handling large sums of money and things of that nature. The same thing with Yahweh's people. We're going to have to go through a serious education process whereby we have to unlearn all of the wickedness that we've been taught by way of the heathens, by way of their indoctrination, the things that we've learned in this society. And we have to learn to really truly appreciate what Almighty Yahweh has done for us, as well as come to sincerely delve into the Torah and really master it. Not practice it, not act out like we live in it, but no, master it to the point that, like Alan Elkin, we live and breathe this. Because the nations are going to have to learn of it from us. Just as we learned of their wickedness and all of their heathenified ways, they're going to have to unlearn their nonsense to learn that which makes sense, which is Yahweh's word. And they're going to have to learn it under us. Let's go here into the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31. Jeremiah 31:27 says, "For behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yahudah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. And it shall come to pass that as I've watched over them, to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so will I watch over them to build and to plant, saith Yahweh. And in those days they shall no more say, the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone shall die for his own iniquity. And every man that eats the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. So after Israel being intermingled with the nations and mixed in with man and beast, it's time coming where Almighty Yahweh is going to punish us all for our sins and our iniquity and our own wickedness individually. But then he's going to make a new covenant with us, as we see here in this 31st verse. It says, "For behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yahudah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahweh. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no man, they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me." So in that day, you won't have to be running around trying to convert people or show how much you know in the word and convince a person that what they don't know, what they know is not right, or vice versa. There'll be no days whereby you won't have to run up on people and try to teach them anymore, because at that point in time, after Israel's chastisement and correction, after Yahweh purges out the rebels from amongst Israel, after we've been judged for our iniquity as well as cleansed from it, Yahweh's going to make a whole new covenant with us. Covenant whereby his law will be in our land. It'll be in our hearts, in our minds. It'll be in our inward parts, to the point where you won't even so much as have to learn it, but it will already come genetically encoded in you, as it was from the very beginning. That's serious. That's the serious component to our restoration. You've been given your land back. You've been given your nations, your servants. Your land has been rebuilt. You've been brought out from under your oppressors. It's only right that you be given, in the midst of all of this that you're receiving, it's only right that you be given a new heart and a new mind, and enter into a new covenant with Almighty Yahweh. Let's go on a little bit further. It says, "And they shall all know me, from the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, saith Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more." See, that's part of Israel's restoration as well. See, a lot of times we hold on to different sins and different iniquities and different things that are displeasing before Yahweh because it feels good to us. We don't want to part ways with it. We don't want to separate from it because it's gratifying to the flesh and it pleases the flesh. But we're not supposed to be walking according to the flesh. We're supposed to be walking in and according to the Ruach HaKodesh. And as a part of Israel's restoration, Yahweh's going to take from us the ability to walk according to the flesh and do things that are pleasing to the flesh, because he's going to cleanse our flesh, and he's going to cleanse us and fill us with his Ruach HaKodesh and instill in us a desire to know as well as to do his word. See, there's so much to this message about Israel's restoration. We can't even cover it all in a night. If we were to come in here tomorrow and resume on the same message, we couldn't do it, because there's so many different aspects of our lives that Almighty Yahweh is going to cover when he talks about our restoration. You take things that people might not even want to think of or talk about. Like right now, the state of affairs of our children. Our children, we got to watch them like a hawk in every way, shape, and form. Even when we let them go outside of our door and just play in front of the house, got to watch them like a hawk, because there's so much that they have to contend with. But as far as Israel's restoration, there's a day coming where Yahweh said that the streets of Jerusalem shall be filled with the boys and the girls playing in the midst thereof. Ain't gonna be no damn pedophiles in Jerusalem looking to snatch up your son. Ain't gonna be no damn transgender pervert looking to take your son and faggify him and effeminize him. Ain't gonna be no lesbians looking and waiting and watching over your daughters, trying to corrupt them and turn them out. The children will be able to play in the streets in peace. And right now in this society, we look down our noses at the homeless. We'll see people sleeping in the street. Oh, man, look at that bum. Oh, man, it don't make no sense. He's over there sleeping in the gutter, while completely omitting the circumstances that put them in that situation. But the scripture also says that elders will be able to traverse and sleep in the streets if they choose to. They'll be able to lie down in peace, and none shall make them afraid. Let's go back here to the book of Yeshayahu. Let's go back to Yeshayahu, chapter 45. In fact, before we jump to 45, let's go in here to verse 40. chapter 43. Yahweh says here in the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 43, verse 5, he says, "Fear not, for I am with you, and I'll bring your seed from the east, and I'll gather you from the west. And I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth." That's a serious family reunion. Now we're talking about gathering. Right now, this society in which we live in, you look at Shaitan closely and you see Shaitan's biggest beef. Of course, we know it's with Almighty Yahweh, but his biggest beef is with Almighty Yahweh's creation, particularly the children of Yisrael and the family structure. You look at how Shaitan structures society and what he goes at and fights. Every aspect of Shaitan's assault on Yisrael is designed to break down the family. And if you take any epoch of time, any period of time, and look at it, it's been a full-scale assault on the entire family. Nobody's gotten a break. From the era of time whereby the government came in and forced the women to run the men out of the house, because if they were struggling financially, the government would come in and would allocate them certain amounts of resources and funds and financial aid if there was no man in the house. So imagine that. You look at the entire family as a bodily structure. What sense would it make to crop your head off right now, Elder Beard? If I say, let's say hypothetically, all right, Elder, look, you thirsty? All right, cool. You want some water? I'll give you a whole gallon. Just cut your head off. No benefit. Or, hey, look, you hungry? All right, cool. Let's just cut out all of your intestines in your esophagus. But you get all of this stuff. That's what they did to us as a people. Hey, look, you struggling? All right, cool. Get that nigga out of there. We'll give you some money. So in turn, the head of the household, he got to go. So in turn, as he gets out, to get rid of Pop, the children run buck wild. Mom's been sold into the illusion that things will get a little bit better with Dad gone. Dad is out. Dad's heartbroken, devastated, but while he's out trying to make his way in society, there's so much pressure being put upon him now. He's being vilified from every angle. The children are ripping and running amok. The children are running such amok that the elders and the people in the community are scared to death to say anything to him. And this is all Shaitan's doing. Children come up, they see the hatred and the animosity that was displayed toward their father, so in turn, they themselves, the little boys, they don't want to know what to do to be like Dad. They don't want to be anything like him. So in turn, many of them feel as though, well, Mom had it pretty easy. So, hey, look, I'll put on a dress. I'll soften up. I'll take some of the bass out of my voice. I won't act as masculine or as macho. Maybe I'll get a better break in society. So in turn, they go on off into homosexuality. The girls, they get, instead of being feminine, they get masculinized. So in turn, they look at Mom and see all of the pressure that she's under, bearing the weight and the responsibility of the household now, since they done ran Dad away. So in turn, the little girls come up to be imitators of the little boys. They harder than the little boys should be, but in turn, they grow up to take on the spirit of dykes, and homosexuality gets a hold of them. So they going off and be with women. The little boys going off and be with men. So in turn, nobody's producing any children. But yet everybody's laying up. See the assault on Shaitan, see the assault by Shaitan on Yahweh's family structure, and it's ongoing. But yet at the same time, Yahweh's talking about reuniting the entire family, bringing them back together. He says here, I'll bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. He says to say to the north, give up. Whenever, let them go. Put your hands off them. And to the south, keep not back. No, don't be restricting them. No, you bring them all here. People get upset and they get offended when they see celebrities like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Charlize Theron, and others adopting them little black babies. Be cool. As infuriating as it may be to see Charlize Theron feminize that little boy and dress him up as a girl, okay, as infuriating as that may be, she got a day coming where she's going to pay for that. But it's got a greater purpose too. You can't bring them if you ain't got them in your possession already. So go ahead, keep on adopting them little black babies. You got to present them little babies to Almighty Yahweh as an offering. This is a family reunion here. People go on off, they'll have their family reunions and they'll put together t-shirts and things like that. The t-shirt might have the trees on it with the different branches, and each branch might represent a segment or the last name of some family member. Might say Wilson over here, Smith over there, Johnson over there, Cambridge over here, somebody else, and it might be 12 or 13 different last names on the shirt. But the family reunion of the house of Yisrael, it's gonna be so magic. It's gonna be so magnificent. You're gonna be able to put that on a t-shirt. It ain't gonna be a t-shirt big enough to transcribe all the names of the children of Israel when Yahweh regathers us. Can you imagine that? Relatives that you've never seen or had knowledge of, yet they're brought to Almighty Yahweh's kingdom. They're brought to Zion or Yahweh's castle, and they're all reunited. Family members, distant relatives that you may have never met in other parts of the world, but they striving just like you to keep Almighty Yahweh's word. You may have never seen them before, never even met them, but yet Yahweh reunites you. You lose family members in this society. People walk away from you in this society. Your blood relatives turn their back on you in many instances. Family members who you've been there with lifelong get to a point where after a while they walk away from you for whatever reason. Siblings go their separate ways, pissed off at each other. Or some instances, some pissed off at others, and others are just hurt, devastated by it. The family goes separate ways, animosity and contention between them. But then at the same time, as hurtful as that may be, you striving to keep Almighty Yahweh's commandments, you lose biological family members in some instances, but you gain even greater with the family of Yahshua HaMashiach. Yeah, you may lose blood relatives by way of your mother and father's blood, but you gain even greater relatives by the blood of Yahshua HaMashiach, and you're gathered and reunited with them all in the kingdom. This is a part of Israel's restoration too. The government can't cut a check to bring you the level of joy that Yahweh has for you. Let's go on a little bit further. Let's go still in Isaiah. Let's go to Yeshayahu chapter 45. Yahweh says here, look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth. For I am Yahweh, and there is none else. People put their hope and their trust in the government officials right now. People put their hope and their trust in their own might and everything of that nature, and anything that you can think of to rely upon except Almighty Yahweh. Yahweh says to look unto him, and we shall be saved. That's the only way we get in salvation, through Almighty Yahweh and his son Yahshua HaMashiach. We ain't getting it no other way. We ain't getting it through the United Nations. We certainly ain't getting it from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. We ain't getting it from the governor's mansion here in Maryland down in Annapolis. We ain't getting it from Hollywood, California. We ain't getting it from 68th Street in New York. We ain't getting it from the Pentagon or the Department of Defense. All them different organizations, they fighting and working to keep you from receiving it. But there ain't no stopping that which Almighty Yahweh wills to happen. Let's go back here, still in the book of Yeshayahu. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 49, verse 22. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and I will set my standard to the people. And they shall bring your sons in their arms, and your daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. Any adult that reflects upon their childhood, if you've ever done, I'm more than certain you can attest to the level of joy and happiness that you felt being up high on your daddy's shoulders. Any adult that was ever a child can attest to how happy you were to just be elevated above everything else and just right there at the top of your daddy's shoulders or your mama's shoulders. And just as you were that happy and you felt like you were on top of the world, being able to be above the ground and look out, that's how the nations are going to have to come with your people. They're going to have to bring your people. The same way in which you fathers may take your daughters or your sons and drape them upon your shoulders and walk with them. That's how your servants are going to have to bring your children to you before Almighty Yahweh. And just as the nations, they set up their standard of beauty to us today. They got us sitting back now. We want our skin lightened. We want our hair dyed. We want our hair straightened. We want to look like them. We want narrow lips. We want smaller nostrils. We want to reconfigure and recontort our bodies from what Almighty Yahweh made us to look like So we run into the doctors to get our bodies basically butchered. We basically run in to have ourselves cut up and mutilated to look like the very people who hate and despise us. But here's where the mental illness comes into play, though. Because while we ripping and running to go and get our bodies butchered and mutilated to look like them, these demonic bastards ripping and running and getting their bodies butchered and mutilated to look like us. That's serious. Person hates you and despise you that much, but yet they want to emulate you in every aspect. And they put up their standard of beauty. Oh, if you're not a size 2, you're absolutely hideous and grotesque. If your hair is not blonde and long and flowing, it's absolutely unkempt. It's unnatural. It's hideous. Should be done away with. But then yet they go on off and they want to copy and mimic your hairstyles. They want braids. They want dreadlocks. They want twists. They want your... Man, it's so sad now where you can look up and you can even see little white boys ripping and running, getting their hair cropped low because they want waves like the brothers. But yet they set their standard of beauty. They want you to look like them. Whereas 40, 50, 60 years ago, the brothers were putting lye and congoline in their hair because they wanted to be able to run their fingers through it and slick their hair back like the white folks. But yet, fast forward a couple generations, they sitting back now. They want fades, they want braids, waves, and all these different things. But Yahweh said here, he's going to set up his standard to the Gentiles and to the people. So just as we were duped into following the standards of the Gentiles, there's a day coming where Yahweh's going to bust down everything that they upheld before us. It's now, no, that's not the standard of living. That's not the standard of righteousness. This is the criteria by which you are to go by. And that's what Almighty Yahweh is going to do before the world. He's going to hold that Torah up. We read earlier how he's going to magnify the law and make it honorable. Anybody wanting to receive salvation is going to have to bow down, going to have to bend. He's going to have to learn of that law. He's going to have to humble themselves and come under that rod. And Yahweh says even further by way of Yeshayah the prophet, and kings should be your nursing fathers, and their queens your nursing mothers. I told you earlier you're going to have them as butlers and maids and babysitters for your children. And they shall bow down to you with their face toward the earth and lick up the dust of your feet. People talking now about the Pope having went to Sudan and kissed the feet of the people. Okay, cool. That's all right. That's awesome. You're getting practice. Keep on going. And next time you go to the Sudan, you make sure you take Donald Trump with you. You make sure you take Vladimir Putin with you. You make sure you're going off and you take Joe Biden with you. You make sure you take Elizabeth Warren with you. Go to Germany. Go get Angela Merkel. You take all of them with you. Go get them bastards in England masquerading and calling themselves the royal family. You get all of them with you. You take all of them to the dirtiest parts of Africa. And you get down, and when I say the dirtiest parts, I don't mean that to disrespect the people, but I'm saying you take all them rich and wealthy and powerful bastards that's destroying the world. You take them to the most impoverished states of Africa, and you get down and you kiss the feet of them people. Get your practice in, because there's a day coming where you all going to have to do it. Get accustomed to it. Get practice now. So that way, when the time comes for Almighty Yahweh to actually call for you to actually do it, you already preconditioned to bend it. You ain't got no kinks in your back or no other aches and pains in your joints to work out because you will have already exercised them muscles and you will have plenty of time to get all of the inflammation out of your joints and you'll be able to bend and bow properly. It says further, they shall bow down to you with their face toward the earth and lick up the dust of your feet, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. For they shall not be ashamed to wait for me. This is a part of Israel's restoration. Right now, the world tramples you under their feet. Right now, the world and the nations think absolutely nothing of you. But there's a day coming where they're going to have to bend and bow down and kiss the dust of your feet. Let's go a little bit further. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? Right now, they take you, they prey on you, and they confine you to prison for excessively long periods of time for minor offenses, and nobody says a word to intervene. But Almighty Yahweh is going to intervene, and there's a day coming where you're going to get deliverance, the life of which you have yet to imagine. For thus saith Yahweh, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contends with you, and will save your children. Right now, they giving our children the blues and they beating the daylights out of us in every facet of living. But there's a day coming where Almighty Yahweh says He's going to contend with them to contend with you. So even our best fighters, even those that are the most skilled in whatsoever the form of self-defense may be, there's a day coming where you won't even be able to throw up a duke because Almighty Yahweh will throw the blows for you and overthrow your enemies. See, they don't want that part talked about though, where Almighty Yahweh rises up in anger and fights the nation. They don't want that type of stuff talked about. And they definitely don't want this type of stuff talked about where Almighty Yahweh says that there's time coming where He's going to even let Israel fight. So there's a time where Yahudah shall also fight at the battle of Armageddon. So they'll fight at Jerusalem. But they don't want to talk about stuff like that. But it's written right here in the book. It says, I will contend with him that contends with you and will save your children. And it gets even further for those with the weak stomachs, for those that don't want to imagine Almighty Yahweh being vengeful and angry and overthrowing the nations and shedding blood, for those that don't want to stomach that. If the 25th verse upsets you and disturbs you, you better not get into the 26th verse, but I'm going into it for you. It says, and I will feed them that oppress you with their own flesh. And they should be drunken with their own blood. They gave you crack cocaine, they gave you heroin, they gave you all kinds of drugs, they gave you marijuana, they gave you purple haze. They got to the point where they didn't even gotten around to giving you synthetic weed, stuff that ain't even real plants. But they give you that to smoke as well, trying to kill you under the guise of helping you alleviate the pressure of what you're dealing with. But yet at the same time, in the midst of giving you all those different drugs to wipe out your population, they turn around now, they want sympathy because they're getting hit hardest by the opioid epidemic. You tell me Almighty Yahweh's word ain't true? It says, I will feed them that oppress you with their own flesh. It was all cool when Aunt Angie and Cousin Mike and little Kim around the corner was around smoking crack and shooting heroin and stealing their TVs and selling their children's toys to get a bag of dope. All that was cool back then. It was all cool when little Roderick and DeAndre was selling crack at 11 and 12 to buy sneakers and school clothes. It was all cool back then when they were terrorizing their own communities and they was having turf wars with military-style weapons, even though they had no experience at the gun ranges or anything of that nature, even though they weren't even old enough to sign up and register for selective service. It was all cool when they were toting AK-47s and AR-15s in their neighborhood, fighting over the right to sell crack on corners. But now that it's Dylan and Chad and Tyler overdosing on opioids at 16 and 17. Now suddenly it's a national epidemic because it's hit home now. Now that it's Marjorie, the soccer mom, overdosing on the opioids. Now suddenly it's something that needs to be addressed. It's a national crisis. Yahweh said He would do it. And He's got much more in store for the wicked as well. He says, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I, Yahweh, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of your code. Now let's go back here, because as we continue this discussion on Israel's restoration, there's some other things that got to be discussed also, because we've already talked about how Yahweh is going to restore us to our land. He's going to restore unto us the desire to keep His Torah. He's going to restore unto us all of the things that were in our land that the strangers destroyed. He's going to also restore unto us our families and our love for Him. But also, in the midst of all this restoration, right now we're at the bottom of everything. We're being pushed around in every facet of society. Everybody's ruling over us to our own detriment. But there's a day coming where Israel's going to have to be restored to their rightful state of rulership. That radah, or that dominion that Yahweh gave Adam in the beginning, it's time frame where Israel had to be restored to that same power and that same dominion over the earth. Let's go into the book of Yeshayahu. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 20, Isaiah 1, starting at verse 21. How is the faithful city becoming harlot? It was full of judgment, righteousness lodged in it, but now murderers. Talking about you. Talking about Israel, that faithful city that was full of righteousness, but now it's lodged and inhabited by murderers. Your silver has become dross. Your wine is mixed with water. Everything that pertains to you now is polluted, it's tainted, it's defiled, it's been watered down. It's been reduced in quality. Your princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. Everyone loves gifts, and follows after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither does the cause of the widow come unto them. They cold-blooded, they cutthroat now, they cold-hearted. Yahweh said that the princes are rebellious. But yet we just read earlier how Yahweh said he's going to purge out from among us the rebels. It's another part of Israel's restoration. In order to be restored, you got to lay out what it is that you're doing wrong, where you're going wrong, and where you need to be right in order to be restored. And this is what's happening right here in the book of Yeshayah. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of mine adversaries, and avenge me of my enemies. And I will turn my hand upon you, and purely purge away your dross, and take away all your tin, and I will restore your judges as at the first. So everything, every area where we've been bust down, everything that we've done wrong, everything that we've gotten and done it improperly, Yahweh's going to remove all those things from us. The dross and the tin, all the tin. People don't think much of tin as far as the metal. People look at the gold, they'll look at the silver, what have you. They'll look at the copper, and then you get on down to the lesser elements like the aluminum and tin, things of that nature. I would say he'll take those things away from us. The dross or that contaminant that defiles the silver and the metals and everything, that rust basically, I would say he'll take all of that from us. And he'll restore our judges as at the first. So right now, the world judges you in everything. They rule over you. They got authority over you. But Almighty Yahweh says he's going to reverse it. He's going to restore your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Afterwards shall you be called the city of Siddiqah, or the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts with righteousness. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together. And they that forsake Yahweh shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which you've desired, and you shall be confounded for the gardens that you've chosen. So all the different forms of idolatry that people are into now, as they coming where they're going to be ashamed of all of that nonsense. And as the wicked are being destroyed and wiped out and obliterated and punished for their iniquity, Yahweh's going to purge Israel. And he's going to purge Israel of all of their iniquity. He's going to restore them to a greater state of glory than what we're in right now. Let's go here. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19, momentarily. We find Yahshua here in this 19th chapter of Matthew having a conversation with the apostles. One of the apostles in particular was asking him. He was laying out for, hey, look, we done forsook families, we done left homes, we done left wealth, things of that nature to follow you. What in return shall we get? And Yahshua let him know. Let's go here. In fact, let's go to Matthew 19. We're going to start here in 19:27. And then answered Peter and said unto him, and this is after Yahshua had the conversation with the rich young ruler. And the rich young ruler was asking, what shall he do to be saved? And Yahshua told him to sell that which he has and give it to the poor. And the rich young ruler was heartbroken. But then after the conversation, Peter asked him. Peter says unto him, for behold, we've forsaken all and followed you. What shall we have therefore? And Yahshua answered and said unto him, verily I say unto you, you which follow me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yisrael. And every one that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold. And, if you think that's great, it says, and shall inherit everlasting life. Hallelujah. Imagine everything you lost in this lifetime. Everything that you were deprived of as a result of coming to this way of life. Imagine all the hurt and the devastation that you felt having lost those things. Ties that you may have lost with different family members and what have you. Different things that you may have declined and walked away from on the job as a result of no longer working the Shabbat. All of those different things that you lost and all of the hurt and the pain that you felt with that loss. Imagine you following Yahshua, you unyielding, you unwavering, you ain't bending, you following Yahshua. And he says as a result, you gain 100-fold. And then he give you everlasting life along with that. Tell me this ain't something worth striving for. See, it's so much to Israel's restoration that, man, we would need, I can't even tell you how much time we would need to actually discuss the restoration of Israel. But then Yahshua says further, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. See, right now the world got all of the wicked have all of the wealth, and you the last one to get any of it. The wicked have all of the world's riches. The wicked have everything. They have their stab at everything. And you get the scraps. You get whatever else they done with, or whatever else they feel though they're tired of right now. But there's a day coming where those that had first dibs on everything in this lifetime, they'll be last in the world to come. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go to the book of Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6. That's sure how Mashiach says here. The apostle shows. He says here in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, dare any of you having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints. So in other words, you got conflicts amongst yourselves as a nation. What in the world I look like taking Brother Brian downtown to the Crown Special Courthouse, to civil court, to sue him over something that him and I could just easily iron out, or have elders sit back and oversee the matter and deal with it according to the scripture. And what in the world we look like? Then we get there, I'm going to sue him, or I'm going to sue Brother Reggie. But then we get there and we sitting there in the courthouse before a faggot or a pedophile, but we don't know this, but yet we going there to their court. We don't know what we sitting before, but yet we're going to iron out our personal differences. This is what the apostle was saying to the people. Dare any of you having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints or the Kedushin? Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world should be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge even the smallest matters? See, this is the importance of Israel, knowing that law and Yahweh, instilling that law in their hearts and minds and putting it in their inward parts. That's a lot of responsibility to judge the world. They got people now out in the world, ain't so much, they get the blues just trying to judge themselves. They have difficulty judging and governing themselves. But can you imagine having the responsibility of judging the nations? Yahshua, just as we read in Matthew 19, said that the apostles would sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Then the tribes of Israel, they judge the nations. That's a lot of responsibility. Can you imagine that? Imagine going to court, let's say traffic court, or whatever court you want to go to. Can you imagine going and you got to stand before a judge, but the judge you standing before, he ain't even knowledgeable of what he's judging you in? Can you imagine you being judged, you being accused of murder, but the judge is only knowledgeable in civil matters as opposed to criminal court? But you got to stand before this man with no knowledge or no expertise concerning your particular case. It look foolish. It look stupid. That's what the world would think of Israel. No knowledge of Yahweh's word. They're just up toting the book. No, it wouldn't even so much as make sense. He says, know you not that we shall judge angels? Those same angels that were kicked out with Shaitan. Those same angels that were upon the one to be a part of the rebellion. Those will be the angels that Israel is going to judge in that kingdom age. You got to read off to them all of their evil works that they were guilty of in this earth in juxtaposition to what Yahweh's Torah says. You had to judge all of them. How much more than the things that pertain to this life? Then we jump down here a little bit further in this 9th verse. Says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor the effeminate. This will piss the homosexuals off. They don't like this stuff here in the book. They try to skip over things like this. Nor abusers of themselves with mankind. See, they don't like stuff like that. All the people that indulge in all the different evil, wicked practices, they hate things like that because it brings about their own doom. It's just like, it's no different than the drug dealer on the street. They don't want conversations about the police. They don't want conversations about stiffer laws concerning drug dealing or drug usage. They don't want to hear stuff like that because now it's stepping on their toes because it's delving into what they into. Just like the white folks, when you get to mentioning gun laws and things like that, when they start talking stricter gun laws, gun restriction, or making it tougher for people to obtain guns, they get mad because that's their thing. They like to be able to stockpile and hoard all the weapons and the bullets that they can. But then when they start talking about restricting the size of the magazines and how many rounds the guns can fire, it pissed them off. Just the same way with the things in Yahweh's word. When you get to talking about what won't be admitted in Yahweh's kingdom and what won't be permissible, the folks that's guilty of it are always the ones that get the most irate. They're the ones that get the most angry about it. And Yahweh said further, the mouth of the apostle showed, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. And such were some of you, but you are washed, you are sanctified, you are justified in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach and by the Ruach of our Elohim. This is part of Israel's restoration also. All the different wicked lifestyles that we were once practitioners of, all the different things that we partook in that displeased Almighty Yahweh, those same things got to be purged from us. We had to be washed and cleansed of those things in order to truly be able to be partakers in the restoration of Yisrael and that kingdom to come. Let's go down here and get my closing scripture. Let's go here to the book of Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 2. This is Yahshua HaMashiach here talking to the assembly at Thyatira, letting them know here. He says unto you, but I say unto the rest of you here in Thyatira, as many as have not this doctrine, and which have not known the depths of Shaitan as they speak, I will put upon you no other burdens, but that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcomes and keeps my words unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule over them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as they received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the assemblies. So even as Israel is to be restored, there's so many different components to it. There's so many different aspects of it. But ultimately, at the very end of it, after having been restored and cleansed from all your sins and your iniquity and having been given everything that you were deprived of in this lifetime, you will have dominion. You will rule over the nations. But in order to do so, we got some cleansing to go through before we can even be recipients of the blessings of Almighty Yahweh's kingdom. And Israel, it's on that note that I conclude this message. And I simply ask that all who are present with us now, please stand to your feet as we close out in prayer. Almighty Yahweh, we come unto you as we approach the end of the incoming of the Shabbat. We ask that you please look down from the Hashemayim upon each and every one of us who's come to your house. Watch over us as we leave your house to depart and make our way to our own. Watch over us over the roadways and the highways, whether we travel a short distance or a great distance to be here. Allow us all to be able to reach our final destination safely and to lie down and to sleep in great peace. Allow us to rest and meditate and to sleep and ponder upon the things in your word. And allow us to arise tomorrow. Clothe us in a right and proper frame of mind. And as we return to your house, we ask that you please allow no man of evil, disruptive spirits to come in and to disturb your services. And we ask that any man of evil spirits that would attempt to disrupt your Shabbat, not just here, but wheresoever your people have gathered to call upon your name, we ask that you discomfort and trouble those spirits and let them not find a rest or a haven of comfort in your house, Yahweh. We ask that you drive them out. And we ask that also on tomorrow that you be with your people. Guide each and every one of us. Yahweh, protect us, heal us, strengthen us. Be with our hearts and our minds and our mouths. Be with the mouths and the voices of the singers. Be with the hands and the hearts of those who play instruments in your house. Be with the hands, the hearts, and the minds of those who prepare meal and drink offerings unto you, Yahweh. Be with the hands, the hearts, and the minds of those who are giving monetary offerings unto you, and allow them to do so not begrudgingly but cheerfully. And last but certainly not least, be with the hearts and the minds of your messengers, those who stand to deliver your word. Allow them to do nothing of themselves, but allow them to do everything of your Ruach HaKodesh. Place your words in their mouths and give them the zeal and the fervor to deliver your word and instruct us as far as what thus saith Yahweh. These blessings we ask of you ever so humbly in the Kodesh name of your Son, our Savior and Redeemer, Yahshua HaMashiach's name we pray. Hallelujah, 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 way. Shabbat.